So I'm 23. I'm from the UK. I run a faceless YouTube channel called Wi-Fi Uni with 25,000 subscribers, and it makes me around 2 grand a month. And the majority of that comes from sponsors, and I've now done over 50 sponsored videos. And today I want to share everything I've actually learned from doing that many deals, because I think the reality of how sponsorships work at a small channel level is pretty different to what most people assume. And I want to give you the honest version rather than the polished one. Please excuse this AI slob voice. I promise the value in this video is worth it. And I want to start by saying that 50 deals sounds like a lot, and in some ways it is. But in another way, it's just 2 years of posting every other day in a niche where sponsors are active, and I think that framing is important because it tells you that getting to 50 deals wasn't some impressive feat of sales and negotiation. It was mostly just a function of being in the right niche consistently for long enough that the deals found me, and I think that's actually the most useful thing I can say about sponsors before I get into everything else. So the first thing I learned, and this is the one that surprised me most when I started, is that sponsors find you rather than you finding them, at least in a niche like mine. And what I mean by that is the vast majority of my deals have come from inbound emails, rather than me going out and pitching anyone. Companies making AI tools have teams or individuals whose job is to find creators in relevant niches to work with. And they search for channels. They look at who's making content in their space, and if your audience matches their target customer, they reach out. And the thing that determines whether they find you is how visible your channel is in the niche, which comes down to how consistently you post and how well optimized your content is for search. So the practical implication of this is that the best thing you can do to get sponsors is not to build a media kit or cold email companies. It's to post consistently in a niche where sponsors are active and let the visibility do the work. And I think that's a much more sustainable approach than trying to hustle deals one at a time, because it scales with the channel rather than requiring constant outreach. The second thing I learned is that the first price you give is almost always the wrong price, and I made this mistake on my very first deal where I said $50 because I had no idea what to charge, and that was just a number I picked, and they said yes immediately, which told me I'd massively undersold myself. And I think this happens to most creators on their first few deals because there's no obvious reference point for what to charge. Like there's no publicly available rate card for YouTube sponsorships. And the information asymmetry between the creator who doesn't know what the market rate is and the company that's done this before works in the company's favor, and the creator ends up accepting less than they could have. The way I think about pricing now is that the rate should reflect the value of the audience to the advertiser rather than the size of the audience. And what I mean by that is 1,000 subscribers who are all actively interested in AI tools is worth more to a company selling an AI tool than 10,000 subscribers who watch general content. And pricing should reflect that specificity rather than just the raw subscriber count. And the practical thing I'd say is that you should always anchor higher than you think is reasonable and see what happens. Because in my experience, companies push back far less often than you'd expect, and when they do push back, you can always negotiate down, but you can never negotiate up from an initial price that was too low. The third thing I learned is about the integration itself, and specifically that the best integrations are the ones that feel like they're part of the video rather than interruptions to it. And I think this is something that sounds obvious, but is actually quite easy to get wrong, especially early on. What I mean is that there's a version of a sponsor integration where you stop the video, announce that it's sponsored, talk about the product in a way that sounds like an ad, and then resume the video. And that version is jarring, and viewers either skip it or it damages their trust in the content. And neither of those outcomes is good for you or for the sponsor. And then there's a version where the product fits so naturally into the workflow you're already demonstrating that the integration is almost invisible. Like you're showing someone how to do something with AI, and one of the tools in that workflow is a sponsor. And you just explain how it works the same way you'd explain any other tool, and the viewer gets value from the explanation. And the sponsor gets a genuine recommendation, rather than a paid announcement. The education niche is particularly good for this second type of integration, because the products and the content are so closely aligned, and I think that alignment is a big part of why sponsors keep coming back. Like the integration works for them because the audience is genuinely receptive rather than tolerating an interruption. The fourth thing I learned is about saying no, and I want to talk about this specifically because I think the instinct when you're a small channel getting sponsor emails is to say yes to everything because every deal feels like validation, and I did this early on and I think it was a mistake. The problem with saying yes to everything is that not every product is a good fit, and when you promote something that doesn't genuinely fit the channel or that you don't actually believe in, the audience notices, Not always immediately, but over time the trust erodes, and the trust is worth more than any individual deal. And I think the test I use now is pretty simple, which is would I mention this product in a video even if they weren't paying me? And if the answer is yes, it's probably a good fit. And if the answer is no, I'll pass regardless of the rate, because a product that doesn't fit is always going to feel forced, no matter how well you script the integration. And forced integrations are the thing that makes viewers distrust creator recommendations generally. The fifth thing I learned is about consistency of delivery. And what I mean is that being reliable and professional to work with is actually a significant competitive advantage when you're a small creator, because brands have had bad experiences with creators who don't deliver on time, or who change the integration without telling them, or who ghost them after the first email. And a creator who is straightforward and delivers what they promised and communicates clearly stands out from that. I've had brands come back for multiple deals, not because my channel grew dramatically between those deals, but because the process was easy, like they knew the email would get replied to quickly, the video would go up on time, the integration would be what we agreed, and there were no surprises, and in a world where that's apparently not a given, it's worth a lot. The sixth thing, and this is probably the most practically useful one for anyone thinking about sponsors, is that the volume of deals is more determined by posting frequency than by channel size. And what I mean is that a channel posting every other day is going to get more sponsor emails than a channel with twice the subscribers posting once a week, because the visibility is greater, the content surface area is larger, and the signal to brands that this is a professional, consistent operation is stronger. And this is why I accepted the lower rate per deal early on without too much negotiation, because the volume compensated for it. Like 2 deals a month at $150 is $300, and if pushing harder on the rate meant losing one of those deals, I'd be worse off overall. And finding the right balance between rate and volume is something that changes as the channel grows and as you get a better sense of what the market will bear. And the seventh thing is just that sponsors are a relationship rather than a transaction, and I think treating them as relationships rather than transactions changes everything about how you approach them. Like, the goal isn't to extract maximum money from each deal, it's to build a reputation in the space as a creator who is honest and professional and whose audience genuinely engages with recommendations, because that reputation is what attracts better deals at better rates over time. And I think that reputation compounds in the same way the channel does. Like, the brands I've worked with talk to other brands, and a positive experience gets mentioned, and over time, being known as a creator who delivers genuine value to sponsors rather than just reading scripts is worth significantly more than any individual deal you might have squeezed more money out of. 50 deals in, the sponsor income is the majority of $2,000 a month, and the thing I'd tell myself at deal 1 is just be honest, be professional, charge more than you think you're worth, and the deals will keep coming. If you want more direct help with any of this, I do have a school community linked in the description. There's one-to-one feedback available, depending on which tier you join. No pressure at all. Cheers for watching.